Sneaky.
We don't even have any security here. That's what I was calling about on the phone today. See, I can't get the university to give me any extra money.
Is that why you were talking about Scapelli?
Yeah, well, Scapelli was down here with his crew blasting at the site, and that's when they found the fossils. These are all strange new species. Look at this one. The way the bones fit here, and the opposable thumb, it's almost as if he was a monster trying to be a human being.
65 million years. We've been exiled here after the meteorite struck, while mammals roam free in the other dimension. Well, not for long.
Hey! Hey, you guys!
Scapelli!
No!
Mario! Scapelli's flooding the site!
We need your help.
Strap your boat on, kid. We're going in.
Where are you? Daisy! Answer me, Daisy! Where are you? Look down there! Where's Luigi?
I disintegrated. Am I still here? Where the hell are we?
I captured the princess.
Where's the rock?
Rock, sir?
Without that piece, the meteorite lays dormant. I'll not be able to merge the dimensions. Where is it?
The plumbers took it.
I'll kill that plumber!
In late May of 1993 saw the Super Mario Bros. Arrive on the big screen. Produced on a very large budget at the time, costing $50 million, and unfortunately only recouped back $28 million domestically, and it struggled worldwide. Critics weren't too kind on the movie, and fans of the Nintendo game were left disappointed or even failed to see it. Super Mario Bros. Was the first live-action movie to be based on a video game. There had been movies before which included video games into the story, such as Tron, War Games, The Last Starfighter, and the movie that was basically an advert for Nintendo products called The Wizard. Super Mario was heavily promoted in video game magazines. I recall seeing previews hyping the film, but as a kid I really struggled to be excited by it. I think really down to its visual design. It didn't look like Super Mario, and I think that aspect turned a lot of kids off from seeing it on release. Many movies today adapted from video games generally do very well opening weekend, despite many knowing going in it's going to be disappointing. Video game adaptations are generally very average at best. The trailers I saw on TV didn't really sell the movie, using that I Got the Power song, and with the title saying this ain't no game. The poster was very odd as well. I thought to myself, why are Mario and Luigi blue all over? The whole marketing for the film just didn't work to grab people's attention. Released 2 weeks before Jurassic Park, it got quickly removed from theatres. The movie was directed by husband and wife team Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, who had previously directed music videos and created the Max Headroom TV series. They had only directed one feature film before, called DOA, which bombed at the cinemas. Looking back, I'm surprised the producers gave an inexperienced team such a large budget, and their last film was a flop. The whole production was produced independently, so no studio was involved in the creative process, and Disney had optioned the movie on a negative pickup deal, where they would write the producers a check once the movie was done, which doesn't happen that often, but a similar process happened with Superman the movie and Warner Brothers. But after you've viewed the film, it doesn't feel like it's suited to the Disney brand. To be honest, it fits more with something Universal Studios would produce. Super Mario Bros. Has an odd cast, to be honest. Bob Hoskins as Mario I personally think does a really good job, despite him later on admitting he hated this film, and apparently him and John Leguizamo, who plays Luigi, were drunk through most of the production just to ease the pain of making it. But with Bob, he is a true professional and doesn't give a lazy performance, and acts the best with what he is given, and I believe he did a lot of his own stunts. Many kids at this point knew him thanks to Roger Rabbit and Hook. But he is best known for playing serious, hard-edged roles. If he is a villain of a movie, you'll be scared shitless of him. John playing Luigi at the time I thought was a little odd. They had the character being so young, but in the context of the movie it does kind of work, and Mario being the older brother and father-like figure, it's very much acceptable. Dennis Hopper, who was the villain in most movies during the 90s, I found to be very uninteresting. His dialogue is very bland and there is a constant running joke throughout the movie about him waiting for a pizza to be delivered that doesn't go anywhere, basically no punchline to the gag. Samantha Mathis plays Daisy, the lost princess from the other dimension. I found her to be a total bore throughout the movie, and she seems spaced out through all of her scenes. The comedy of the movie is derived from Spike and Iggy, who have to track down Daisy on the rock that will connect the two dimensions. I found them to be very likeable, and apparently they ad-libbed most of their dialogue. Everyone else is kind of forgettable, mostly down to the bland dialogue and weak characterizations. Before the film was released, it had a test screening, and many of the audience members were confused about the two dimensions and how the dinosaurs had survived. So they hastily put together a prologue explaining what happened and animated a very crude sequence in the style of 16-bit graphics. The production team didn't want it, and you can tell it slapped together very quickly and ruins the film in my opinion. I think it would have been cool if they had the voice of maybe Lance Henriksen, who briefly cameos in the movie as Daisy's father, and had animated lifelike dinosaurs in the style of Jurassic Park. After the prologue, it has Mario and Luigi, two Italian-American plumbers, living in Brooklyn. The brothers are being driven out of business by the mafia-like Scapelli construction company, led by contractor Anthony Scapelli. Luigi bumps into and falls in love with an orphaned NYU student, Daisy, who's digging under the Brooklyn Bridge for dinosaur bones. Luigi musters up the courage to ask her out. After the date, joined by Mario and his girlfriend, she takes Luigi to the dig site and witnesses Scapelli's men, who along with Scapelli himself, had previously threatened her to end her research on that specific piece of land for their own interests. They sabotage the water pipes. Luigi tries to stop it, but he doesn't have the right tools. They rush back to his apartment where they inform Mario about the incident. The three go back to the flooding and the brothers manage to fix it, but are knocked out by two strange characters, Iggy and Spike, who proceed to kidnap Daisy. Mario and Luigi awaken a minute later and head deeper into the caves following Daisy's screams and discover an interdimensional portal through which Mario and Luigi follow Daisy. They find themselves in the strange dystopian parallel world where a human-like race evolved from dinosaurs. Iggy and Spike turn out to be henchmen and cousins of the world's obsessive dictator, King Koopa, descended from the T-Rex. However, the two have failed to bring back Daisy's rock, a meteorite fragment which Koopa is trying to get in order to merge his world with the real world. It turns out that Daisy is the princess of the other dimension by when Koopa overthrew Daisy's father and turned him into fungus. Daisy's mother took her to New York using the interdimensional portal. Iggy and Spike inform Koopa the plumbers took the rock. Mario and Luigi are eventually found and taken to Koopa, where he demands the rock, which is in the hands of Bertha. Koopa attempts to de-evolve the plumbers, but they fight back and escape. They steal a police car and find themselves on the outskirts of the city. Koopa uses the evolution machine and makes his cousins Spike and Iggy smarter to help improve his chances of finding the Mario brothers. Iggy and Spike eventually find them, but being a lot smarter, they see the error in their ways and join forces with the Mario brothers to help save Daisy from Koopa and return to their dimension. At the time, the movie was heavily praised for its visual effects and animatronics. The CGI was pretty impressive, even though it wasn't used that often in the movie. It works extremely well to complement the story they are telling. The Goombas were a very strange design, but were animated extremely well. To be honest, I was a little spooked out by them as a kid. These huge bodies and tiny heads reminds me of the end scene in Beetlejuice. The producers didn't really borrow much from the video games, but Yoshi was thrown in from Super Mario World. He's the only character at that point in the series to resemble a dinosaur. The creature effects were amazing for the time, and it still looks cool today, even though you kinda know its movements are very limited. Super Mario Bros. Did receive a soundtrack release at the time, but only including pop and rock songs featured in the movie. Roxette had 2 songs featured. One was released as a single, called Almost Unreal, and a music video was released featuring scenes from the film. Apparently the song was originally written for Hocus Pocus, but was never used and ended up attached to Super Mario. The album included other bands and artists, such as Megadeth, Marky Mark, Extreme and George Clinton. I picked up the soundtrack a few years ago for like £2 in a charity shop, only for the song Walk the Dinosaur. Alan Silvestri, famous for his work on Back to the Future and Predator, composed the score to Super Mario. but it was never released at the time, and many have been listening to bootleg copies. But a limited CD was released containing roughly 40 minutes of music. It was included with another score called No Mercy. Alan's work for Mario is pretty good. It has an interesting theme for Mario, but the majority of the action seems like recycled cues from Predator and doesn't suit Super Mario Bros. I think the directing team should have gone with a more electronic score perhaps, to homage to video games. The only piece of original music from the game is the Mario theme at the beginning and plays for like 20 seconds. With this film, it's been reviewed by everyone online and everyone gives the same opinion really. They say it sucks and avoid watching it, etc. To be honest, it's certainly not the worst video game movie adaptation. There's been far worse the last number of years. Having a movie based on a character with little to no backstory or plot at the time, it's incredibly difficult. It would be like today someone trying to do a live action Sonic the Hedgehog movie, or say Mega Man. It would be such an immense challenge to make it work, and I would think a lot of directors would struggle to balance the right tone and lock down the visual look of the movie. This should have really been an animated film from the start. Apparently many of the actors and crew signed on to a far superior script, which was based more around fantasy, had a heavy use of satire, and aimed more at teenagers, but was diluted during the production, and major changes were made which left many unhappy. You have a film that doesn't know what audience it's trying to please. It doesn't really work as a kids film, and teenagers and adults will struggle to be invested in it. The directors had changed the look to have a more Blade Runner-esque design, which on screen does look cool, but doesn't lend itself to Super Mario. The production designer had tried to throw in visual elements from the game, and there are some key visual objects that will be familiar to the fans of the games, like the Ba-Bomb, but the characterizations are incredibly odd, and they make some bizarre choices. It's like the directors didn't know the video game characters and just put random faces to names. This guy is called Toad. He looks nothing like his video game counterpart. The directing team had too many ideas and couldn't settle on one solid idea that would transcend throughout the movie. The constant script changes clearly shows their lack of a solid vision for the film. Some reports had mentioned the directors were causing so many problems they even got booted off set and the director of photography took over to shoot the remaining scenes. Making a Super Mario film is a silly idea in the first place, but I have to give the production team credit for attempting such a huge challenge. There are nice parts to the movie, the photography is very colourful and has a good contrast and does deservingly need an upgrade to Blu-ray. The idea of dinosaurs evolving in another dimension is a neat idea, but clearly thrown in to jump on the dinosaur craze happening at the time. I really enjoyed Bob Hoskins as Mario, even though he hated the film, but he's still a lot of fun to watch. The inclusion of the Super Nintendo Super Scope guns I thought was really cool, and even though the whole battle with Koopa is a huge cop-out, it's great to see Koopa in dinosaur form. The film itself has built up a large following over the years. People have returned to it and found it to be not as bad as they were led to believe. There is a website online by the name of smbmovie.com. It has extensive interviews with the cast and crew, post-production material and loads of behind-the-scenes goodies. Definitely worth a read if you want to know more about the production. Super Mario Bros. Was the first live-action video game adaptation. It failed on release and left many thinking, will all translations of video game to movies fail? Well, it was third time lucky for Hollywood when Mortal Kombat hit the scene and paved the way for more video game related movies. But out of all the films that have been based on video games, Super Mario Bros. Is certainly not the worst.